Hello, streaming world. Getting ready to go or are live now with Torne out in South Africa. I'm going to share this to a couple of groups. If you guys want to ask questions, there's a link there where you can join us and ask questions. Otherwise, this will be an awesome conversation. All right, so if you oh, I thought you were looking for. Okay, I'm just sharing this into some groups, but we'll have to connect on Facebook, and I could tag you if you want.
Okay, perfect.
Are you the same? Do you go by? What do you go by on Facebook?
It should be Torne Leigh, so Torne, and then just my middle name, Leigh.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so Facebook is good. Now let me go live on Instagram, and then we will begin. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get started in 1 second. Just going live for the Instagram people. Join us on Zoom and ask questions. Link in bio. All right, let's do it. Live with, and then on Instagram, you're guided by Torne, right?
Yeah, Torne. It's like a tornado without the dough.
That'll help me. Hi, Lisa Jane. I was just talking about you. I'm speaking with a fellow South African right now. Torne, meet Lisa Jane. Lisa Jane, meet Torne.
Hi!
I will connect. I'll make sure that you two get connected. Awesome. All right, let's begin. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to my awesome guest. We have Torne Leigh Velk out in South Africa, and really excited to connect with her on Instagram not too long ago, and reached out to her and told her that she was awesome and would love to chat with her, and she obliged, and we're going to have a fun conversation today. Torne is a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner and all-around awesome human, and I'm just excited to flow some awesome energy with her today and spread some love and light to all of you out there listening. So without further ado for me, I want to introduce you guys to Torne, and if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. So I have an interesting background. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, and I've moved and changed jobs a lot. I have a background as a fashion and beauty photographer. I was working for Cosmo and Marie Claire, and that got me to working in Munich, where I worked there for a year. Then I came back home and I decided I wanted to make a little bit more money, so I joined the yachting industry, and that kind of got me all over America and the Bahamas and Europe, which is fantastic. But during this time, when I was in Fort Lauderdale, I went into a deep, deep depression, and it was quite easy for me to see why I hit the depression, but I'm glad it all happened, because then it rerouted me onto the journey of, becoming an NLP practitioner, a hypnotherapist, and an EFT practitioner, just being of service to others, and just, knowing that you don't have to, go through depression or severe anxiety on your own. So I feel like it all happened for a reason. It was kind of like my crazy journey, and just to dedicate all my time to educating myself as much as possible to be as of service as I can. And that's where I am right now. And I've come home for lockdown, as I was in Los Angeles before, as I felt this, intuitive pull to go to Los Angeles, and some magical stuff happened in Los Angeles. I'm so grateful I went. But before lockdown of Los Angeles, I flew back home to South Africa. So it's, a good time for internal reflection and just being at home and being grounded. I think that's really good for my soul. So that is an update of my work and how I got onto the hypnotherapy side of things.
I love it. So interesting already. What you shared is what so many of us, I think, have experienced in life, where we go through a challenging situation or depression. I have my own scenario of this, which really caused a lot of growth in my life, and a lot of just being open to something coming into my path that could take me to the next level of life that I wanted to be at, just to be happy, first and foremost. And so really interesting how, that was a part of your story. And what I'm always curious about with anyone is, I call it like a light bulb moment, where knowing that as little babies, we come in as just little unconditional, loving little beings. And for a lot of us, we may forget, over time, where we forget who we truly are. We start comparing ourselves to others. And then, for all, hopefully at some point we have the light bulb come on and we remember who we are. And that's why we do what we do. So many of us out there that are helping people remember. For you, what did that journey look like for you? Like, did you, before the depression, already have some awareness, or did it all happen like during or after, or how did your journey look for you?
Well, I was about to say spiritual, but I feel like, spirituality is quite like a vague term. I don't want to say, I became spiritual this day, but, whatever day that was. But I, before the depression, never thought about, why human beings are here, and, what is higher consciousness, and, how can I work on myself and my childhood traumas, and how can I be of service to others. And the depression happened when I was in Fort Lauderdale waiting for a job, and I wasn't doing photography anymore, which, shattered me. And my boyfriend at the time left for another job on a boat. So I was completely isolated for about 2 months in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't have one friend there. I wasn't by any family and friends. And I think this taught me what being completely isolated will actually do to you, because we social creatures by nature. So literally every single day I was on my own every day, and I was like, this is not life. I was like, I don't know what depression is, but I'm pretty sure it's this. I'm crying 5 times a day, and I just feel so hollow inside. And then I ended up getting on a boat or a yacht, and I still felt really, really out of alignment. And it's almost I think I actually was messaging some people on Instagram, what did you do for spirituality? Or what book can I read? Or maybe I want to look into Buddhism, because that's kind of the only thing I knew, kind of. I was maybe I should look into a religion. And I can't remember her name, but one girl on Instagram said, I think you should read the book by Gabby Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. She's it's kind of a really good starter book. And I got it immediately, and that was the starting point for me. That book honestly changed my life, and from there it's just been catapulted in that spiritual journey of reaching higher consciousness. And just also the main thing for me with experiencing that depression is knowing, okay, why did it happen? Because I never suffered from depression before, and knowing now what not to do to prevent it. And I feel this is a very hard time for people, because I said, it was me being completely isolated that caused a depression. And this is, a hard time with people in lockdown, where I feel all those feelings can resurface, because, we're on lockdown, but we're being isolated from everyone. So it's, it's a time where you've got to kind of be careful and try to keep yourself busy and stay with your spiritual practice. I mean, every day I do the Wim Hof breathing method. I meditate for an hour. I do yoga. I journal. I study more things, to improve my knowledge on all these incredible healing modalities. Like that stuff keeps me sane, especially right now. I feel like everyone's being really tested, about how much inner work they can do and how still they can actually be. So yeah, I think this is definitely a good time to do all that work and just kind of be aware of any of those feelings are coming back, I guess.
Absolutely. Now, you said so many good things, and for any of you guys listening live right now, right when they started doing some construction here at my building, which, Torne, you won't hear that when you're speaking because I will mute myself, but I'm not going to torture you guys live for too much longer. If that continues on, I might just stop the stream, and if you want to join us, there's a link there. You can join Torne and I on Zoom, and you won't hear any of that, especially when Torne is talking. But I'm gonna flow with it because I don't. They said if construction is still going on, then you're in good shape. Like if all construction stops, then it's really a rough time here. So they're trying to get prepared for hurricane season here at my building. But I love what you said as far as like isolation, because a lot of us are experiencing that right now. I've been joking. I've been saying, look out for your single extrovert friends right now.
Yeah.
That's me. For those of you out there, because it's just right now I've been filling up my time with, we just have a more limited amount of choices that we can make as far as things to do right now. And so I invite everybody out there, and it's awesome what you described, because the things that are beneficial for you to help your frequency, be where you like it to be. Meditation, yoga, and so many things that you find, breath work, and so many things that are valuable to any of us. And you kind of have your own like special like practice of different things that just make Torne feel good. And I just super recommend that for everybody out there. And it's interesting when that becomes important to us, when we right now, at a time where we don't have as many choices, and we can ask ourselves, what part of my life do I want to see evolve? Whatever that is, then we can start to be open to answers synchronistically finding us, and they will. They always do. And then it's fun, because that's what I consider, kind of the light bulb coming on, is when we become aware that there's more going on than what we currently know, than what we currently see, and we can be open to, discovering, becoming aware of what those things are. It's a never-ending process of awareness at that point, and I'm so excited when any of us, choose to get to that point. So, yeah, right now, definitely interesting time of life here for humanity.
Oh, some crazy shifts. Like I think a big theme that keeps coming up for me more and more is surrendering. It's so easy when you do a meditation and your mantra is I surrender, and you have no idea what surrender is until you're forced to be in a situation like this. And, my whole thing was every day I was like, I'm positive, I release, I let go, I feel so good, nothing can bother me. And I end up telling my friend I'm staying with, I was like, I think it was like 3 days ago, I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I feel really bad. And I was like, I feel like a depressive state coming back on. And it was me now having to work through that and, practice radical self-love, and also just accept that this is us feeling the full scope of human emotions. We are not meant to be happy all the time. And, this is a time for us to tune into that stillness and go within. And it's like the universe is forcing us, like I'm forcing you as a collective to be still and see, that you can make it through this, after working on kind of the things that you need to work on. So I think that's been a big theme for me, is just this concept of like surrendering and knowing it's okay if one day you don't feel good during a lockdown and the next day you get yourself back up and you do feel better. And that's, that's how it works. I think a lot of people feel really bad if they feel bad. And, people need to know that, that quote, the light comes off the dark. It's really how it is. You need to go through those low points to know what it's like to get a high point again.
Absolutely. Such a good point. And just being able to, because if we beat ourselves up for not feeling like, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed every day, then in those moments that we're beating ourselves up, we just feel worse. So it's just great to be aware of, where we are, and, just to know that if we can be even just, because I'm all about because energy is just momentum. So, if we are focusing on something in a way where maybe it has us anxious, like, oh my gosh, is the world coming to an end? Or some thought like that. And we keep focusing on it in that way. Well, that anxiety is not going to just stay at anxiety. It's going to pick up momentum, and it's going to move into, now I'm really fearful of, that the world's coming to an end. And now it's like, oh my gosh, like I just feel like, what is it? What's the purpose of it all? Like now I'm just depressed because it's just like, this is just all going, So momentum is it's very important for me to be aware of energy and what it's doing, and so that I can stop momentum if I feel it picking up speed. And there's so many ways that we can slow down momentum. You're never going to stop momentum, but to slow it down, from a direction where you feel worse and worse and worse, like a really great way is to, if we can just remind ourselves that everything has always worked out, in the past with all the crazy things that have happened on the planet. And
a soothing reminder, this is going to inevitably end and things will go back to normal. And I think that gets people out of that anxiety. And it's like what you said, it's just this this never-ending thing now where you feel anxious, and you feel anxious about feeling anxious, and then the one day I coughed and I was like, I have the virus. I was like, I need to go to hospital right now. And then I was like, is my throat sore? And then I swallowed some spit and I was like, is it sore? And I was like, no, it's not. And I was like, what happens if I need to go to hospital? And you just you catch yourself and you whoa, I've gone and steered towards fear and I need to go back towards love. And it's a challenge. I'm not gonna be on this Zoom chat telling you it's easy. It's a challenge, and I feel like we're all being brought to our knees and just surrendering, and just the universe is reminding us that we've never had control anywhere. We never do. The only thing we can control is our state and how we perceive things. And I think that's a really big reminder for this lockdown period. I know everyone's lockdown periods are different now, but even if people are in lockdown for a day or 2 months, this is a really, really good time to be still and go within and just ask certain questions about things that you're feeling at this time.
Absolutely. And I love your openness about even being able to share that, you've been worried about, just at different times, but then be able to realize that you're being worried, and to be able to return back to a state of peace is just a really great thing for any of us. Here's all I want people to know when it comes to illness and, and just virus or anything at any time, not just while, a global pandemic is happening, but just any time. So if our body can be because we're all energy, and in 2020 and beyond, energy can be measured in the moment. I've been to events now, Torne, where I've had the EEG brain scanners on, where I've been able to see my energy in the moment, and that purposely guiding me to think about things where it's moments of my life that were really challenging, so I could see what that looks like frequency-wise, and then moments where it's you're on top of the world, you feel victorious, and I could see what that looks like energy-wise. So pretty awesome, where we are, science-wise, where a lot of the things that, pretty much everything that we're sharing, that maybe 50 years ago would sound like that's pretty out there, now scientifically can be measured, and now we can speak science terms, or we can speak spirituality terms, or it's just language. We're just labeling things that these days can be measured. But my point is, when we're in a frequency of peace, content, optimistic, and anything that feels better than that, where momentum is carrying us to where we're excited about life, we're happy about life, we're passionate about something, we're being loved, we're being anything that feels in those frequencies. That's a way different frequency than how we'll feel, or the frequency of the virus, or how we'll feel if we had the virus. That's way different. So if all we have to know is that our body is going to be a match as far as how we feel. Anytime over the past 8 years where I felt any type of symptom, whether it be sore throat or sneezing or coughing or any, just even the slightest symptom, I'm self-aware enough to ask myself, how's my frequency been in the hours, days leading up to experiencing that symptom? And every single time there's always, we can always feel even better because our frequency is unlimited. So we can always feel better than we even do right now, which is awesome, because even if we're blissful, we can feel even better than bliss. We just don't really have words to label it. Maybe nirvana, euphoria, ecstasy. I don't know any English words beyond that. My point is, if we can just be mindful of that and not take the symptom as, oh shit, I'm gonna die. But this is a great reminder that I can get back to being at just peace and just optimistic that even if I had the virus inside of me right now, that my body would return to wellness if I allow it to. Now, if I'm like stressed and worried and like angry and like blaming everyone that the reason that I have this, then it's very difficult for the body to do its work, because your body's going to produce new cells every second. And if you're in a state of being, if your frequency is stress, those cells are going to be a mirror to that frequency. So it's just hard to return back to wellness, which the whole reason that, like, I'm going to another subject, I haven't said this many times, but the whole reason that like medicine that masks symptoms is what it's really doing. Like when you have a headache and like you take a pill that like masks the frequency, or you have take a sore throat spray. It's not like the spray is healing the sore throat. It's that it's masking the frequency, the symptoms, so that we feel like we're getting better, so that our frequency can return back to being one of well-being, and then the body heals itself. So, you know, I'm all for anything that can help our frequency, but just being aware of where we are, and it's just a really good idea to, it's a really good idea before symptoms show up, to just try to maintain just a peace, a calm, you know, do the inner work.
I love that.
Yeah.
Instead of like being at a low frequency, like preparing yourself to get the virus, and then you're running at that low frequency to get yourself at that high frequency, and just, you know, rather stay in that place. It's a lot better for you.
Absolutely. And that's now and anytime. Not just because there's like a virus going around. Now it's just like heightened. Like we're at like a heightened time right now as far as everything. Like, you know, we're more heightened as far as going within and like asking ourselves, what do we want to see for ourselves and for humanity? I just feel like everything is intensified right now, including like the threat of illness. So it's just good to be aware of it.
What I said to my friend in LA was, I can't remember how I worded it, but, you know, it's so easy for us to be like, I'm so zen and I have coherence in mind, body, and spirit, and I feel so good and everything's going right in your life. But it's having that same coherence and, you know, internal positivity when shit's not going right. That is the real test. You know, when things are not going well at all in many aspects of your life and you're still able to keep that inner peace, I think that is when you know you've made a massive shift and you're really in a good place. Because, yeah, it's so easy, you know, if I'm on holiday in Bali and I'm doing all the spiritual work and I feel so good, and then something like this happens, it's like, let's try keep that same amount of inner peace. And then you know that you're pretty much unshakable. And that's, I guess, the ideal place of, like, you know, where you actually want to be, where it doesn't matter what's happening, you know, outside of you, you've still got that inner peace that will always be there. And I think that this is definitely a good time to try and learn to have that inner peace when it's really difficult. Like when I was already in LA, I was already doing quarantining for a week and a half. And then I flew home and I did, you know, quarantining because I came from a high-risk zone. I already did it for a week, and now we've got a 3-week lockdown. So that's 5 weeks of me having this time to slow down and, you know, bring up all these emotions that I've been unconsciously hiding, and just practicing radical self-love and allowing myself to feel the full scope of human emotions. So I think this is definitely a good time to try work through all of that. And like I said earlier, you know, that lightness definitely comes after the dark, and this is a time where we have this opportunity to do all this inner work, and, you know, it's time to go in and be still and just, you know, be fully present. And you spoke about energy, and I'm currently reading Joe Dispenza's book, You're Supernatural. Mind blown. Like, I'm reading the book so slowly because it's actually so much to take in. I don't just want to read it quickly and say, oh, you know, I've gone to the next page. I want to, like, take in what he says, and he speaks about energy. And, you know, how whether you go on your phone or you speak to your best friend or your neighbor or your partner, or you're on your laptop or you're on Twitter or anything, we are giving away energy. And I feel like this is a really, really good time, you know, to direct your own energy back within without so many distractions. So we've got all those distractions outside of home, but we need to ensure that while we're also in our homes, we're not distracted by our phone, you know, that incessant, like, phone checking, and that can still keep us distracted from actually doing that inner work. So I think it's also a good time for people to just reduce screen time. Because, you know, I'm going to be honest right now, you know, I've started reading my phone again as soon as I wake up in the morning. And, you know, again, it kind of distracting you from having to think about certain things. But I know it's like, okay, I need to at least have an hour and not be on my phone, because that, again, is creating a distraction. And like taking away from the opportunity to do all this all this inner work.
You said so many things there that inspired me. And first, Joe Dispenza's event was where I had the EEG brain scanners on. It was in Cancun. It was a meditation retreat, which helped me out so much. That whole event was awesome. Like the guided meditations that he gave us there, and then that we got to take with us from there, helped me uncover some blind spots that were really, really. They were causing a lot of challenges for me energetically that I just wasn't aware of. It was a blind spot. So until we're aware of anything, we don't have choice. That's
your subconscious trying to protect you, right? Whether it's a childhood trauma or something that you're hiding away, it's stuff that our subconscious is trying to protect us from, because it's hard to deal with those things, and then they actually get brought up to the surface, and you're like, whoa, I've got some stuff I need to deal with. Maybe this is the time.
Absolutely. I knew there was something there for me. I literally was in Hong Kong, and I had like 12 hours to decide if I was, because before you can go to one of his events, it might have changed now, but then before you can go to one of his events, you had to go to like one of the pre-events, like a weekend one, so you can get like the basics, which I was ready for. So I had to decide like 12 hours to whether I was going to fly from Hong Kong to Las Vegas. And it was just like, in order to be in Cancun the next week, which is where I really wanted to go to, which was the week-long meditation retreat. And I had a close friend of mine that was going to be in Cancun. They had already done one of his preliminary events, so I just had to make the decision, and probably the best decision that I ever made. I just cut my Australia trip off, which I'd already been to Australia before, and I want to go back. I love you, Australians. But that was like Dr. Joe has played a big part in my evolution over the years, just with that type of stuff. So that's awesome.
I think like his book just has this perfect balance of like spirituality and science in his book. To look like people could, kind of question that stuff. And then he's got like facts as well about energy and atoms and molecules and the quantum field and all this stuff where, a lot of people, if they're like hesitant to kind of believe in this stuff, it's like there's facts and there's science. So I like how he has both in many of his books, which I think is really great.
Absolutely. You said something while you were sharing a second ago also that is so important for all of us to just remember. And at one point, this was my greatest weakness in life, which was the not focusing on the present moment and thinking about, like, it was all the external stuff. Like if I'm in Bali, then I'm having a great time. Or, when I was an athlete, like if I had a good game, then I'm in a great mood. If I had a bad game, I'm in a crap mood. Like it was always external, everything, which was controlling, my energy. Yeah. Not realizing that if we can, be happy now, we can be in a frequency that we enjoy now, that's going to reflect to having more awesome external experiences. So just reflecting from the inside to the outside versus letting the outside control the inside all the time, that was my greatest weakness by far, a decade ago. So I love anytime we can remind, ourselves and, each other of that if we can be happy in a time where we're, have way less options right now than we've had ever in our lifetimes as far as things that we can do, if we can still find a way to be excited about the areas of our life that are evolving, or, the areas of humanity that are evolving, and, just be able to live and just be appreciative that, we're still alive, we have food to eat, we have a roof over our head, all the little things that we probably take for granted, me included, then it's just an awesome place to be, because, we can still have so much momentum going in areas of our life. And with the phone thing, it's interesting because there was so long I've been sharing with people that, because here's the thing, like it's a practice, and there was a time where it was just not wise, especially when I was describing letting the external control my energy. It just wasn't wise to go straight to the phone, because anything could be on that phone as far as like, oh crap, like this is I got to deal with this right now, or it's just anything, especially like email, like comes from so many different sources. So now, just because I'm in the habit of waking up like excited, and like I have a meditation practice in the morning and all these things that I normally do in my routine, I actually expect really awesome things to be on my phone, like alerts that I don't like dig into, but I like see alerts from people. Like for instance, I saw an email from you this morning, and it was like I'm excited to do it, or maybe that was last night. And this morning, I saw an email from you in the last 24 hours. I think that was this morning. Anyways, but my point is, like, I'm expecting to see cool stuff now from just on my phone. But if you're not practiced in that, and you still allowing external to, because again, I'm not digging in, because before I go into my phone and like respond or do anything, Like I use the bathroom, drink some water, and I meditate. Like, so I'm like starting the day. So I don't reply to anybody about anything until I've like meditated.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the meditated version of Noel versus the trying to hurry up and get things done version of Noel, so.
I want to ask you something that I find really interesting. I was speaking to a friend about this in LA. Do you ever feel like you put spiritual pressure on yourself? And what I mean by that is, do you feel guilty if, like, in one day you haven't meditated and done yoga and journaled and made podcasts? Like, do you have the same problem as me? Like, I used to have this really, like, strict spiritual regime that I had to follow every day. And if I, like, didn't meditate or didn't do yoga and I didn't do all these 100 things, I was like, I didn't do enough, like, personal development today. And my one friend in LA was like, Torne, it's okay if you watch Netflix for 2 hours at night and do nothing. She's like, that's also self-love. I don't know if you've had the same thing as me. I just wanted to, like, see if that's, like, a common thing.
Well, I'm sure it's really common. I'm just, like, the most unscripted human on earth. I just really
I know people like that.
Yeah, I'm just not. For me, the only reason I even meditate is because I like to start the day in a particular frequency, at least at, like, peace and calm. And I know if, like, I'm receiving downloads from the universe about questions that I've asked, then I know I'm connected. So my meditation could last only 5 minutes some days. There's other days where I wake up and I'm in such a good mood. Sometimes I had such a good day the night before. I went to bed, like, in such a high vibe, had such a good night that I just wake up and I'm just excited for the continuance of that. And I just really don't feel like stopping to meditate. I just want to get going into the day. And I'm already in a really great frequency. So
how you say spiritual downloads? My friend, her name's Sunny, she's an incredible human being. She really changed my life. I met her in LA, and she spoke a lot about spiritual downloads. I'm like, that just sounds so good. And, people tend to forget that, we are the universe. We all connected, we energy and we light, and, we have this connection. So it is so incredible when you do something like meditation, you get these universal downloads. Like, I don't know if this is a universal download, but it might just be clarity. Like, I'm not a poet. I don't write poetry. And on my last yacht I worked on, we did the Atlantic crossing from Barcelona to the Bahamas, which took 17 days. So I spend a lot of time on the exterior of the boat, just kind of looking into, like, just ocean. That's it. You don't see any birds. It's just like, like the sky and the ocean. And I would end up doing like a 30 to 40 minute meditation. And right afterwards, I would start writing poetry. And, like, while I'm writing it, I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now, but it's like, just like, the universe is speaking through me. And the crazy thing is, as soon as I would start overthinking it and my analytical mind would come in, the poetry would stop. So it just shows, the more we can connect and more we can have those downloads, the more we're able to reach higher levels of consciousness.
So such a good example, and that's so true for all of us. To, like, whenever we're connected, like Torne was just describing, and it could happen, like, because of meditation where it just drops in. We can be in nature. It will happen when we're in a really good mood. Like, let's just put it that way. We're feeling good. That's when we have access to to these things coming through us. And I can totally relate when it comes to, like, poetry. There was one night where I was in such a good mood, and I actually was getting ready to hang out with a friend, and it was going to be about 45 minutes till we were going to meet up. And I said, what is a way that I could, like, impact, like, the youth, like, more than any other way? And I was like hip hop has such an influence on the young community. I was like, I bet you I could just, like, flow out, like basically all that hip hop is, or rap is, just poetry. So I was like, I bet you I could just flow out some, like, awesome, like, poetry. Yeah. And, like, what came through was, like, I closed my eyes and, like, I was just standing up in the kitchen and I just recorded it. I was like, and it was just like, I say out a sentence, and then I just channel the next sentence that, like, rhyme that, and then the next one and the next one. And then I went back afterwards and, like, just took out the gaps and, like, put it together. I was like, this is awesome. I ended up putting some, like, cool music behind it, like the ocean, and I posted it on Instagram as just, like, a spoken word poem. But I was like, this is awesome. And I haven't done one since, but it was just like, it just flowed through.
I don't know if you know the most magical light being. Her name on Instagram is Plantful Soul.
Quantiful Soul?
Plantful Soul. Her real name is Claire Michelle. Oh my goodness. You need to go look at her pictures and the stuff she writes. You're just like, where is this coming from? And we actually had a phone call. And at the end of the phone call, I said, I'm so incredibly grateful to have found you, and the stuff that you share, so many people can resonate with you, and you see people and you get through to them. And she was like, she put her hand on her heart because we had a video chat, and she was like, thank you so much. But she's like, I don't really feel like I can say thank you because it's not me, it's the universe. And I was like, oh, stop it, girl, you're going to make me cry. So I just love that how she was like, I'm not going to really take the compliment because she's like, it's not me. She's like, it's universal downloads, and I'm just, transmuting that energy from the universe onto a piece of paper and then sharing it with the world. So I feel is really aligned, and she has a really great connection. But it just shows you when you can just even tap into a meditation for 30 minutes and then write poetry, which you weren't capable of doing before. It just shows you what we're actually capable of just by tuning in and being still.
Absolutely. For anybody that this may be like, what are they talking about? I'm going to simplify this, because a lot of times we talk about like channeling and like, downloads and all these things. So to make it as simple as possible, especially if you can think of like the old school, maybe you guys are too young out there listening and have never like tuned an actual radio. But if any of you guys have ever like played with an actual radio, where if you say, hey, what channel is the best radio station out here? And they say, go to 95.7. And you're like, okay. And you're like on 95.1, and you're like, I can't hear anything. Like, you have to be like tuned to 95.7 or else nothing's coming out. So it's going to be staticky, like blurry. So with us, like in these days, it's XM radio. So, the hip hop station or country music station or whatever it might be, whatever channel that you have to go to. So that's what we're doing at all times. Like we're just energy, we're frequency in every moment. And so whatever frequency we're in this moment, the only thoughts that can pop into our mind are matched to that frequency. None of us are ever going to have a depressed thought from a truly like happy, like joyful frequency. It's not going to happen. And then we're also not going to have like a happy, joyful thought from a depressed frequency. We just label these with words, but like this literally can be measured. So all that we have to know is like when we meditate or when we're doing anything that we enjoy and we're in these frequencies of just loving and happy and joyful, bliss, or whatever we want to call it, in those moments, the thoughts that pop into your mind, the words that come out of your mouth, the actions that you take are infused with this frequency, and momentum can pick up. So once you start flowing the poetry, or if you're a writer, once you start writing anything, or you're doing anything, you're a painter and you're painting anything, like, and you're in that flow, like your hand's just moving, like you're flowing out. You're like, dang, look what I'm creating here. And this can go for anything that you're drawn to. So my best advice for anyone is if you can be mindful of the energy that you're in, and it's one where you're like, I'm feeling good right now. Like, do something that's valuable to you in your life, whatever it is. If you have a family member that you've been wanting to make a phone call to and you've been putting it off, make that call when you're in that frequency where you're feeling connected, because it's going to be an awesome conversation. Like, the words that are going to flow out of you be so loving. You're not going to have to worry about saying anything like mean to them, because, again, you're not going to say anything mean, or you're not going to be a jerk if you're truly in a frequency of being connected with, God, universe, love, all that is, source, spirit, the force, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. So that's the easiest way to really think about it. And meditation is just a great tool, like so many tools out there that we have access to here as human beings, to allow us to tune into these frequencies. And once we're tuned there, you can let it flow out, whatever you're doing, and it's going to be an awesome creation, whatever you're creating. So,
do you ever feel, how do I put this to words? I just had a little thing I wanted to share. Do you ever feel like, okay, so you're running at a really high frequency, and I think the highest one you can actually feel is enlightenment, and I think below that's peace and below that's love. So let's just say you're feeling one of those three frequencies, which are the highest ones, and then certain magical things happen in your life, and then maybe some, what you would classify as bad things happen the following week. Do you think that subconsciously you have lowered your frequency, and that's why not as many good things are happening to you anymore? Because like when I first got to LA, I was like, I could literally feel love emitting from my heart. Like, I would wake up in the morning smiling, and this is like the most love I've ever felt in my life. Like, so many amazing things were happening there, and I was like, I had this immense amount of love, like I could literally feel it in my chest, and so many amazing things were happening. I was meeting all these incredible people and having so many downloads, and then like I felt like, I'm not going to say they stopped, but they weren't flowing in abundance. And then I was like thinking, maybe that happened because without me knowing, I lowered my vibration. our conscious mind's 5% and 95% is our subconscious. I don't know your thoughts on that. Like maybe you've actually lowered your frequency without you even knowing, and then you are attracting other things at lower frequency, like certain events and people and things like that. How do you feel about that?
I have lots of feelings about this, and it's all possibility. First of all, for any of us, and these words that we're labeling frequencies are just words. Like it's just semantics. Like my frequency that I would call love, it could be different than what someone else can call love. And then there's been measurements done now where now they'll say that love is this on the energetic scale. To know about anything, like if we talk about a highest frequency, just know that that's infinite. Like there's no limit to where energy can go. Like frequency is unlimited both ways. Yeah, both directions. Like we can feel, there's no limit to how crappy we can feel, and there's no limit to how good we can feel, which is awesome because the only thing that we have to be aware of is momentum, and if we're doing anything in life where we're present and we allow the momentum to carry us, like words like bliss, euphoria, ecstasy, nirvana aren't even strong enough words to describe where frequency can go if we allow it to. Yeah. Now, if your energy is split and you're doing something that typically you really love, but you're thinking, oh, I should probably be doing this instead, or I had more fun doing this the last time because the weather was better, or any little thing that we do where we split our attention and our energy, you're just in the way of momentum. So now we're not going to experience, those frequencies. Still might be a good time, but just be super present to momentum and allow it to go and go and go when you're enjoying it, and be aware of it when it's going in a direction where you don't like it to go, and so you can slow it down by just reminding yourself that even though I don't know what's going on right now, I know that everything is working out, and even just that optimism can slow the momentum down for a second. Now, what you described as far as like, did my frequency drop? Frequency for all of us can only be in the moment. So, it's moment by moment. And I love the indicators of life that life gives us. If, for instance, the symptoms that we talked about, if you start to notice symptoms, you can ask yourselves, how's my frequency been in the moments leading up to this symptom, and just being aware of it. So now you can do something about it. When I'm out in the world, like here's what's really interesting. It's like when I go out in the world, just not right now because we're not really living normally, but even right now, it would be the same. There's still humans.
You can't do most things right now.
Yeah, there's still humans around though, not as many, but there's still humans around. But just typically, like even if I go out in the world and like if I'm in a really just a mood that I like to be in, an energy that I like to be in, a frequency I like to be in, like the flow of just life is just going to be awesome. Like anybody that I interact with out in the world is going to be an awesome interaction because you're bringing people to you that are on similar frequency, and the people that may be choosing right now to vibrate, and it's a part of the human experience, and it's not that I've never or will never vibrate in a frequency of frustrated or angry or whatever the case is. Definitely have in the past, but I'm super aware of it, and I don't really enjoy experiencing life in those frequencies. If I can be aware of it, then I can choose something different. My point is the people that are vibrating on those frequencies won't be brought into our path when we're vibrating to where we're in the frequency of just like, you're just in different places. They won't want to be around you any more than you want to be around them. So if I ever notice even like, an argument out in the world or like something like extra dramatic, I even take that as an indicator of, Noel, what's your frequency been like leading up to even witnessing this experience that you're not participating in like actively, but just the fact that you're even seeing it is a great indicator for me. And every single time, I appreciate it so much because most of the time it's because I'm rushing or I'm worried about something. I'm not present. Like I'm thinking about things that I have to go do, and I'm not out in the world in the frequency that I normally like to be out there. And so I appreciate the indicator, and then it allows me to go back to where I was. So when it comes to anything that's already manifested, there's so many possibilities on, why that could have been manifested. We definitely played a part. For sure, like 100% of the time, like our frequency played a part. I won't say that it's 100% your fault that you manifested this illness or disease. Like I'm not going to go there because there's so many possibilities, and the fact that we have it now, it's allowing our souls to evolve. It's allowing us to evolve and to be able to ask ourselves, now we can ask ourselves, what would we like to see manifest? Because anything that's already manifested, like I've never met a human on the planet or heard of one that could take something that's already manifested, like this phone or computer, and just like de-manifest it. Like now it doesn't exist. Like there's no more phones. I just haven't met that human. So it's already existing, whether it's illness, disease, or relationship or whatever it is. So now we just ask ourselves, what would we like to see? Which we wouldn't even know, by the way, as clear as we do, if we hadn't had the experience of, ooh, this is rough. Like I don't like this experience. Like I'd rather have this, well experience, this healthy experience, or this healthy relationship, or this whatever it is that you desire out there. So then once we could put our frequency there and become, embody that and be a living version of that right now before it's physically manifest, then we can actually physically manifest, anything that we desire, including wellness, which is why right now, even if someone had the virus or anything else in their body, if we can just become a frequency of well-being, of wellness, which is just being connected with who all of us truly are, our body would return back to that. So
like I know Joe Dispenza, healed his spine. I don't know how long it took for him to heal it, but he speaks in a Heal documentary, which is on Netflix, about how he imagined his spine and I don't know the human body and all that terminology too much, but he explained his spine reconstructing and fixing itself, and you're we're capable of way more than we actually know. And being a bit of a hypochondriac, but when I did cough the other day and I was like, I have it, I flew 34 hours home, I have it. And I was doing so many of his meditations, just imagining, something for me that's really powerful is, I'd imagine my hands and imagining, any sort of badness in my body, coming out of my body, out of my hands, all that negativity, and just imagining all the cells in my body accepting new information. And I think it's so incredibly profound, and people don't think that that's going to do anything, and it really is. Your body and your mind responds to this. So I would imagine a certain light filling up my body, and all the cells and molecules responding to a new vibration, a new energy, new information. And if you keep doing that, plus on top I'm doing the Wim Hof breathing method, which is incredible to alkaline your body. If you're doing all these incredible things, it's really going to make a difference. And like you said, it's going to definitely affect you not getting a virus or something like that. Your body's just running way higher.
Absolutely. And here's why. Everything you just described, when you describe that beautiful meditation, which is awesome, when I became aware that every second our body is producing a few million brand new cells, and there's also a really high number that are dying off, to where 7 years passes from this conversation, not a single cell that exists in our body right now will still exist. When I became aware of that, and just realizing that your cells will do what you tell them to do. So if you're super stressed out, your cells are going to be okay, I'm going to be super stressed out. It's just, that's, your body is reflecting our present moment state of being. So when you're doing meditations like that, and you're seeing your body being well and being vibrant, and your cells are just okay, that's what we're going to be. And so it's just, we have so much power over, what's going on. And it's just being aware of it and then choosing to moment by moment. And that's the biggest thing that I talk about and care about, is just the present moment of, what's my frequency, right here and now. And all the things that you talked about, the breathing method, everything that you're doing, in those moments, your frequency is on point. So your body is being what it truly wants to be. It's being well-being. It's being well. And for anybody out there, there's so many different things. Even if you're watching that comedy on Netflix and you're laughing the whole time, awesome. That whole time that you're laughing and your body's feeling good, you're being a benefit to yourself the entire time. The thing is, we just have to be aware about when we're being something that's destructing our body. When we're stressed, when we're worried, when we're fearful. And I'm never going to tell anyone that there's anything wrong with that, because those frequencies and the synchronicities that show up because of those frequencies, is, we like to talk about synchronicity, and I like talking just as much about the synchronicities, the parts on the movie screen, the drama parts where it's ooh, that's a rough part of the movie. Hope they make it through that part of the movie and get back to the love story. So that's a response to what you asked a second ago. The frequency that we're in is creating synchronicities. Our whole life is just one ongoing synchronicity, things that we could never predict. So what is just determining what those synchronicities look like, whether it's we're enjoying them or they're not so fun, is also a reflection of what's going on, inside of us and the frequency that we're in now. So
it's awesome. With my depression, that's a low frequency to be at. You're unhappy with everything, and you feel like the world is happening to you and not for you. And I wouldn't for a second want to take it back, because it showed me how enlightened I can actually feel and what vibration and frequency I can actually run from. And for example, my feeling when I was in LA now, and I could honestly feel love in my chest, and I'd never felt that before, and I was this feels so good. And maybe if I didn't go through that depression, I would have never have felt that. So it's this was happening, and I needed to know that low point to know how good you can feel at a really, really high point.
I love that you said that. So important. That's what Torne just said is so important. Like, and we think we would give away parts of our life experience, like in the past, maybe traumas or things, and like, you know, probably most of us would say, oh, if I didn't have to experience that. But if we did give that away, just know that we'd be a completely different human than we are right now. And the desires that we have, the direction that we're going in life, the lessons that we learn, like the clarity that we now have, like we probably would need to experience in order to be going on the path that we're going on. For those of you guys that are creating awesome things or excited for, you know, your family to evolve in a certain way, or your health to evolve in a certain way, or career, or whatever part of life that you're excited to evolve in right now. If it weren't for all those experiences leading up to where we are right now, we just wouldn't be on the same path. Like we would need different experiences in order to give us the clarity to where it's like, okay, I want to create this. So yeah, even though they're challenging moments, are probably going to be challenging while experiencing them. You know, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, like it allows us to appreciate the parts of life that we would consider to be awesome. And at the same time, it's allowing us to create, you know, based off of, okay, I know I don't want this relationship again. This was really rough. So what relationship would I like to see in my life? And now I get to be really excited to attract that and to focus my energy on that, not needing to know how it's going to happen or when or who it's going to be or any of the details that typically make us anxious. Just being excited about it and being appreciative of the past relationship that might have been rough, but I'm happy that I had this because now I know what I truly want, and now we get to focus on it.
Now you know what you want and what's going to make you run at that higher frequency, totally.
Absolutely. This is awesome. You brought up some really awesome things. I love this conversation so far.
Yay! Me too!
So, question for you, because now you're super focused on like the hypnotherapy stuff. Like, tell us a little bit about that. How did that come into your awareness? And you're excited about this.
So much.
I love
it's
it.
just like, you know, with my course, we learn other techniques that are part of neurolinguistics programming, and well, that stuff's all great. I have such a calling for hypnotherapy because you know why? There's no bullshitting hypnotherapy. It's going into, you know, your childhood traumas that you have, and you're going to the root cause of problems so you can, you know, let them go and then, you know, not carry around this wounded child. And when I was in Bali, you know, it's always like that story in Bali. When I was in Bali, I knew that I was carrying around a lot of anger, but it's almost like I knew that it was coming from my childhood and it was coming from my relationship with my father. And something happened in Bali that was just kind of this like massive realization for me. And I was like, I need to go see someone. And I was speaking to a few different healers that practice different healing modalities, and I was just so drawn to this one woman named Lydia. And I was kind of pondering on going to her, and it ended up happening. So I was staying at this hotel, which it was like mid price, you know, it wasn't like really cheap or expensive, but you know, for Bali it was a lot. And I was staying in this one room, and then the toilet wasn't working, and then the shower wasn't working, and they came in and they were like, no problem, we fixed it. And I was like, great. Next day, there's no hot water, and the whole bathroom was just a nightmare. And they were like, we're going to move you. And I think I already felt so ungrounded being in Bali because I was moving around so much, and I'm like a very airy person. I need to be grounded, and if I feel that's out of alignment, I start to get very, very anxious. And it's almost like more air gets created. So they were like, we're going to move your room. And I was like, I really don't want to do that. Like, I have to pack all my stuff again. That's just the last thing I want for my few days left in Bali. So anyway, I moved room. They said they would help me. So I get to this next room, and it's just like, I think there was something wrong with the air conditioning, and the room was really hot, and there was a problem with the shower again. And I was like, why is this happening? And the guy said to me, no problem, we're going to upgrade you. So we go on a walk, and he goes, this is the upgraded room. And I was like, you're joking, right? And it was like literally that, like, the shower was like in a bath. So it's still a small shower, but you're just standing in a bath. And I was like, what do you mean this is the upgrade? And he's like, this is the upgrade. And now I kind of got all my frustration out on him, you know, my whole feeling of feeling ungrounded and this whole issue. And it was my issue of losing control. I felt like I couldn't control him. I couldn't control the situation. That was my wounded child really being projected. And I said to him, like, this is not going to do. Like, this is ridiculous. And, you know, only afterwards I realized that he, you know, was just like the middleman. He didn't create the room. He didn't create the rules. And afterwards I felt so immensely guilty for how I behaved. And I was like, something something needs to be fixed here, because I'm doing my yoga, I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing my journaling, I'm trying to be a good person, but things are still triggering me all the time. So I really had this desire to go see Lydia, and I'd never done hypnotherapy before, but I'm very open to new things. You can be a little bit hesitant, or kind of you'd be a bit wary, but I'm always willing to try. So I had my session with her, and she started off the session by saying she's always wanted to know why people are suffering, why they have issues in their life, and why things aren't in coherence. So I explained what happened at that hotel and how I got really upset about getting angry and I don't want it anymore. And I said, I don't understand why. I'm doing all this meditation, I'm doing all this yoga, I've got my sage sticks, and this button keeps getting pushed and I keep getting angry. And I know it's stemming from childhood trauma. So I explained it was my relationship with my father, and we ended up doing a 2-hour hypnotherapy session, which I really enjoyed. I enjoy doing that hard inner work because I know you're going to embrace and embody a new way of being when you let go of that stuff you're holding on to in your subconscious. So we did incredible hypnotherapy where the first part was forgiveness, where I had to imagine my father and me when I was really young. I had to become him. So I had to talk to her as my father, and that was one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. Literally, as soon as she asked me to embody my father, I felt sick, right here. And I asked her, how often do people go through up? And she said often, because it's like this trapped energy. So I managed to not get sick, but I felt that the whole time. And then we went on to another part of the hypnotherapy that she calls omega therapy, where you understand that you need anger and you need kindness, but in coherence. And she always explained the yin yang, you need both. So her thing was getting me to know that I need that anger, but not as much that I was suffering with, almost I had too much of it. So that was a 2-hour session with her, and I can't put into words what I felt towards the end of the session. I wasn't lying down fully. I was kind of at an angle like this, and towards the end of it, it felt like all the energy in my body was pushing up towards the top of my body, and all my cells were vibrating. It felt like I was actually moving. And I opened my eyes, and she asked how that was, and I said, there's no words to describe what you've just done to me. And it was really, really difficult to go through that, because I had to go straight into my childhood and deal with those feelings of unlove and, not feeling any safety, and just go straight into it. And when I left Bali a few days later, I had this epiphany, and I was like, this is my calling in life. I want to do that for people, because so many of us don't even know that we're carrying around trauma and, wounds from childhood. And then we might suffer with symptoms such as addiction, chronic pain, depression, low self-esteem, anxiety. And then, we might drink a little bit too much, or overwork, or, be addicted to exercise. I also had that at one point. Or you might travel too much. I also had this. Or you run from reality and, to prevent yourself from ever doing that inner work. And we may not have yet discovered the pain that lies at the root of these behaviors, because they are designed to keep us from it. They're there to protect us. And this is why many of us struggle with being. And this is this huge theme for everyone right now. It's just being, and we're so addicted to doing. So you take away the daily distractions, and then we're able to do that inner work. So that was a huge thing with the meditation for me, was just wow, I've been still and I've done all that work, and now I can embrace a new way of being and not have all these distractions, like over exercising, traveling too much. And I just went straight to the root cause. And what's really great to explain to people is, as you get older, for example, you've got your anger button. As you get older, that anger button gets bigger and bigger, and it gets pushed more and more. And then you've got a hot air balloon on the top of that button. And what happens is, any human being, when that button gets pushed too much, and the hot air balloon gets too big, we want to alleviate the pressure in our life, whether that's addicted to sex, drugs, alcohol, making another person our crutch. So you want to actually remove that button entirely. And the only way by doing that is actually going into your subconscious and working through all those childhood traumas. And that is why I wanted to do hypnotherapy, and that's how I wanted to be of service to others and use this incredible healing modality, because it shows that everything you need to heal is already within you. You just need to get past that protective layer where your subconscious is trying to protect you. And I know that people just doing that hard work and going into your childhood trauma is going to give you a completely new way of being. And the craziest thing for me was my issue with control. And as a child, I think I never felt heard and seen and loved. That a huge thing for me and a problem was that feeling of control, like to control every aspect of my life. And if I felt I was losing control, I'd have a tantrum like a child would have. So right after my hypnotherapy session in Bali, I had an Uber driver back actually when I was in Fort Lauderdale in Florida, and the Uber driver drove past me. And in the past, I know exactly how I would have behaved. I would have, called him really like cheekily and been like, do you know you drove past me? Like, I just saw you, like, because I felt uncomfortable that I'd lost control. And right after the hypnotherapy session, when I went back to Fort Lauderdale, something happened with the Uber driver again, and he couldn't find me. And I just called him saying, hey, I'm on the street. I don't think, you can see me. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I wasn't like fearful of losing that control, and I just felt so at ease, and like that button wasn't there to be pushed. And when I got in the taxi, he was so like apologetic, and he was so sorry, and I was like, it's totally okay, like shit happens, like I know you're using an app on your phone and it's taking you on the wrong road. And in that moment I was like, whoa, like that button like had been reduced like an insane amount. I mean, that doesn't mean now that I never get angry. It's a natural human emotion to feel it. But that button was completely removed, and those tantrums do not happen anymore. So I know that with this incredibly profound healing modality, people can have such massive shifts because, like I said earlier, 95% of your mind is your subconscious. So that's things that are just happening in ways of thinking without us even being aware of it. And our conscious is only 5%. So this, for me, is the most incredible way for people to work through their traumas and just completely embrace a new way of being. So that is my story with hypnotherapy and why I got onto it and why I'm so extremely passionate about it, because it's just, for me, honestly, the most incredible thing in the world to get all those answers that people have been looking for.
I'm so happy I asked you that, because what you just shared is so powerful for anybody out there listening. Just the way that you shared your whole story and your whole journey is just awesome. And I'm so happy for you and for anyone that is open for just the new awareness, to where you didn't, none of us ever think that we know it all and we have all the awareness that will ever require, like right now. I mean, we have the awareness that we need for where we are right now, and there's always more to become aware of the entire time that we're here.
Yeah.
And when we're ready for it and we can apply it and, be open to seeing what's here for me, like what can happen is what you just described, which is so awesome. And now I'm sure that you see, because like for me, it wasn't an anger, but it was being really critical of myself and of others. And it could lead to me like not verbally assaulting people, but like even like mentally, like just talking like so much trash to people. Just then that's just how I grew up. Like, and that's how me and my friends talk to each other and my teammates in sports. And so now it's like if I see myself being critical, because we're all human, so we still have the capability of being critical or judgmental of someone. But even when I notice like the first like thought of criticism towards someone else or judgment of someone else, I just say, "Stop it, Noel!" Like immediately. Like I don't. It doesn't have to go like
connect.
Yeah. It doesn't have to turn into because like you said, you don't have tantrums anymore. All a tantrum is anger intensified into more momentum. It's just a series. So. Yeah, so, for you to not be having those, it just shows that you're aware of the energy now and can say, stop it, Torne, or whatever you do for you to not allow yourselves to not allow yourself to go down that route.
At least you're aware of it, because, most people go like, I'm fine, I have no problems, and then, random example, you could have a girl who's totally fine, and then she hits 25 and some childhood trauma comes out that is traumatizing for her, and you're like, oh, what was your subconscious doing there? It was hiding it from you to protect you, and it thought that this was a good time to bring it up. And it's the subconscious is just so fascinating to me, and this is why I'm just on this journey of trying to educate myself more and more about what its role actually is and how we can tap into it with hypnosis like I said earlier, just to embrace a new way of being and let go of that stuff that's just holding us down. And for most people, they don't even know it. Like, you said, if it's like a thing of judgment, or you don't open yourself up to people, or you're scared of doing well because you feel like you don't deserve it, or you're not deserving of love, or you're aggressive, or you're angry, or you've got low self-esteem. It's like, I can tell you right now, majority of the stuff is stemming from childhood. Even something small can happen in your childhood that can affect you without you even knowing, and it can be brought up with hypnosis. So it honestly, for me, is just the most exciting thing ever.
I love it. That's awesome. And the only way that I discovered this, because I just didn't just discover like these subconscious blind spots, it was because of the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation guided, asking the question of, what are some things that I need to see? Like, what are some blind spots? And literally specifically asking for that, and then seeing it in meditation, and then becoming aware of it and paying attention to it in my everyday life is what. And then it was just a practice from there. So, and it's an ongoing practice for all of us. It's always I always like to say, Torne, the awareness puts us like 99% there, but the 1% left is for all of us in the moment as far as what we choose. And the things that you're doing are so beautiful because it's helping people have the awareness, because that is like a big part of it. I mean, without it, we don't even have a choice. So like, I'm just so happy for people that are helping people have the awareness, the light bulb come on in whatever way they're doing it. And for those of you guys out there, if you have any inspiration to reach out to Torne, definitely follow her on social media. All her links are here. And then on Instagram, she's Guided by Torne. Pretty sure that's how it is. But my advice always is like, connect with people that you're feeling this awesome energy from, and if you're inspired to reach out and do some coaching, or part of the hypnotherapy that you're doing it online as well, I'm sure. Right now we don't have a choice, so I'm sure that's an option. No, I love it. I'm so happy that now I know that you exist, and that the people that are watching this live and that will watch this when this is out in a few weeks know that you exist. And you're awesome. You shared some awesome things today, for sure.
And what I just want to add about like the childhood trauma and stuff like that is, for many people right now, being physically isolated in their homes is going to be both triggering and really, re-traumatizing. And people could feel a lot of stuff come up without them even knowing. So, this is a time to try be connected to people as much as possible. It's not an easy time for anyone. So it's, trying to get appropriate support, where it is opening up to people that you follow on social media that feel they can provide a safe space for you, and just ensuring that you're connecting to people as much as possible, because like I said at the beginning, we are social creatures by nature, and a lot of trauma can come up if we are too alone at this time. So I just highly recommend everyone has just got someone to speak to, just call all your friends, try to do Zoom chats, start something online, just try and make sure that you're in a good space, because otherwise this could be a really difficult time for anyone. And this is coming from someone who had a depression, who was completely isolated for 2 months with no human interaction, and just make sure that you are in a good place that doesn't actually get to that point.
Absolutely. So happy that you said that. And I'm going to ask you one more question, because I just want to make sure that we've squeezed all the juice out of Torne, even though there's unlimited amount. But just knowing that the internet lives on forever, and 50 years from now they could be watching this episode, and this crisis that we're in right now will be irrelevant, and we'll probably have new ones that we have experienced on Earth by then. But just anything that, and you've been doing it the whole time, that you want to share with humanity, no matter what it is, any subject, could be anything, that you feel would make a positive impact whenever someone hears this episode or sees this episode.
A big theme that keeps coming up for me right now is just like radical self-love, and everything that everyone needs is like right here. And whenever you start seeking external validation, you need to start asking, how much self-love do I have right now? And it's everything comes back to love. Everything comes back to that self-love. And whenever you're feeling the need of external validation, just come back to that self-love. And that's what's happening with me lately, is as soon as I start seeking external validation, I have to be like, why am I having a limited amount of self-love right now? So just anything that will provide you with a lot of self-love. And, That could be watching Netflix on your own, or having a good bath, or doing a Zoom chat with people right now, with people that you love and you're connected to, and just giving yourself that love that you need, and especially that inner child. For me, I think that's the best advice. And another thing as well, that's a huge theme for me at the moment, is not being afraid to be vulnerable. We live in a society that's told us, you need to be hard, and, it's kind of like, it's also especially for men, like, real men don't share their feelings. I just want to tell all men out there that men that cry, it's incredibly sexy. And just for us to all be connected. When I make my posts about hypnotherapy on Facebook, I've had a few guys message me about their depression and anxiety, and it's so incredibly powerful because people don't feel like they can do that. And that's why I love sharing my story, because the more I share my story about depression and anxiety, the more people open up, because people are so desperate to open up. So, practicing radical self-love, and also knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's in our human nature to do that. We're not here to be, like an inanimate object with no feelings. So just try, be vulnerable, express yourself, and practice as much radical self-love as you can.
I love it. Such a beautiful message. Such a beautiful message. I'll be vulnerable with everybody right now. So what I love most about life is that we share a planet with 7.7 billion humans. And for me, like, the way that I've experienced life for a long time is I'm excited for the universe to bring the next awesome human into my path. And I don't know if it'll just be one quick conversation, or if I want to spend the rest of the day with them, or, become like a new best friend. Like, who knows? Like, I just never know what life is going to bring. And that's a fun adventure. Lately, that has been something that has been restricted a lot. And so the part of life that is like, ooh, it's like going to be an adventure. Like, I can meet anyone today. It's like, dude, it could be like a few weeks before, because I'm a single dude, and I've been happily single for the last 4 years on purpose, just because I've just been enjoying life and just seeing what evolves. And like, I'm not like making, like, I have things that I'm excited to create, ongoing in all areas of life. And at the same time, I'm focused on the moment. So I'm just not thinking about all that. But like, when we start having like isolation and all these things, like, shit, it might be like a few weeks before I even have a hug the next time. Like, when's that gonna? Like, it's just crazy. So
like, I love hugging people, and even when I had this time between self-quarantining, because I came from a high-risk zone, and then a lockdown starting, and I saw my dad, and I was like, just want to hug you. Like, I'm a hugger, and it's really hard, so I can totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to hug someone.
No, for sure. So I've just been doing what I can do, filling my, as many cool conversations that I can have, which I appreciate, which are, helping others as well, and really fun for me, because it's just like, this is going to be the, probably my favorite conversation for sure that I have today, unless the universe drops one that I'm not expecting, which would be awesome. Then it'd be a tie at the most. So no, I appreciate you and everybody out there. Just, we're all connected. We always have been, and now seeing that, more than ever. And just excited for everything that's evolving for all of you out there personally and collectively for all of us. It's all working out, and I'm excited to see. I'm still looking at all of it as an adventure, and we're just in we're like a dramatic scene of the movie right now. Like, damn, this is a dramatic part of life.
Yeah. What's happening next? And it's like what you just said, as a collective, we're feeling isolated as much as we can. We need to try feel more connected until we are actually all able to physically be in contact with one another. So it's like you said, just getting on these Zoom chats, speaking to people like this, for me has been so refreshing today. So it's, it's doing things like that will definitely make you feel a bit more connected to people in this crazy time. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you, and happy to now know that you exist on this beautiful planet, and just definitely excited to. This will be the first collaboration, but not the last. I'm affirming it. We'll collaborate on some other things going forward.
Yes, there's so many topics to cover. It's just unlimited.
Absolutely. Well, you guys share this episode. Definitely, you could share it right now if you're watching live on Facebook and benefit someone, or when it comes out, definitely share this and make an impact on anyone you share it with. And thank you guys out there that have been rating and reviewing the podcast. You're making it easier for people to find. And if you're inspired to do so, definitely do it. Appreciate that, and subscribe and all that stuff. And I'll keep talking to awesome humans like Torne and so many others out around the world that are just open to enjoying life and having fun conversations with me, and just helping people in any way that we can. So love and appreciate everybody out there sending tons of positive vibes. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Awesome. So much fun. That was awesome conversation.
Yay! So incredible. We just ended my time here is 2020. So
nice.
Great stuff.
I'm gonna stop the stream and then I'm gonna stop the stream.